Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. I want to show you an example of a player in the Fundamental Perfection program that I sent back this analysis to. So what you're going to hear here in just a second is me talking to the dad and the player. I want us to, as you're looking at this video, instead of thinking about, the perfect swing and perfect mechanics, I want you to think about a kid that's learning the game, right? Doesn't understand at this point, just like every kid learning the game, the fundamental rules, and that we're taking fundamental steps to get him to understand a different energy source. What you're going to see here on the right is not a finished product. It is a step in the direction that I normally take with players as I take them from the isolation drills on the knee to their feet, of getting them to understand not how not to drag their elbow, right? But the opposite energy source of drag is lag, right? And so that's what we're reinforcing here, and that's what we're talking about. This kid's doing an amazing job. Thanks for tuning in. Fellas, so we knew whenever we took him to the dynamic balance, we took him out of the isolation drills on the knee where we're trying to encourage opposite habit patterns than what players that have drag and longer swings usually have. We can emphasize that in an isolated environment, right? A controlled environment. And we take a player to their feet and we put them in this really awkward dynamic balance drill. It challenges them a lot. And so we knew on the left here when he first went to this, there was going to be some tough things, right? What do you mean you want me to just get my feet set? Right, I like to move my body when I hit, and I want him to move his body when he hits. But right now, I think what's really important is the player understanding where is the energy source coming from for moving the bat, right? And also, as indirect as it seems, we're challenging a player's body's relationship to the ground. All right, this is different than, if you go to online and you hear people talking about launch position, obviously, could we be in a more aggressive posture here? Probably, but we're not worried about that, right? Right now, what we're worried about is can I get a player to have leverage and understand their body a little bit better, right? And some of these sources of energy that we're going to talk about. So here on the left, we knew when he started, he had the right ideas, kind of, right? We've been forcing him to move shorter and things like that. And so he moves to dynamic balance. And instead of it being a lag move that we worked on the ground, he's just focusing on the direction. His brain says, okay, Dad wants me to move shorter out of the top. And so what kids will do out of the top is they will start creating push moves. And basically what that is, again, if the brain says, if you say, hey, move the knob a certain way, right? They will usually resort to where's the most leverage in the hands that are holding the bat, where do I have the most leverage to move the knob of the bat? And so what kids will practice is sliding the knob of the bat sideways or a shorter way. And so they usually get energy from the most leveraged position, which is right between the hands as they push their way in this direction. And then at some point here, he tries to get on board. He says, all right, now I'm going to practice that lag move. So he does it really late. So we haven't talked about making the front arm look bent or anything like that, right? But we should see when a player in an environment like this, a ball sitting still, in my opinion, you should see that the flexion that we have, you see this move here, which we're not trying to do, right? That is what that's showing us is that he's using every muscle group there in the bottom hand arm to help with the pulling action instantly. So if I do a push, you see how his bicep stays in his chest and he just turns his chest around, right? Because he doesn't have the right energy. Over here, the bottom hand arm is constantly in a process of, on the right, was constantly helping produce the lag feeling from the top. So the reason why this lag feeling is important for him to understand, right, is that if I'm doing a push energy this way, what that creates is, in terms of energy for the bat, is a seesawing effect. Now, we all know that seesaws are very efficient for what they need to do. Up, down, up, down. So that's great, but we're not throwing seesaws anywhere. And so it's not a very good energy source to move something in a direction, right? So by focusing on my energy going through here and immediately turning on lag, I'm pulling the bottom of the knob in a direction, right? Not sliding it, not pushing it with my top hand, not pushing it from here, not just pushing the back, not pulling from the back of my hand, but feeling like I'm pulling the bottom of the knob in a direction and constantly staying with that feeling, constantly feeling like I'm pulling down the line. This works wondering, as far as a finished product, maybe not yet, right? But what he's doing right now is he's starting to understand, well, what does it mean, besides the idea of getting inside of the ball, what does it mean to stay through space? What does it mean to stay down the line, right? Now, you just see this in his finish here. how the barrel and his hands are going to finish really low and flat. And here, just like the exaggeration that we worked on with that doll effect, trying to get him to feel the barrel staying up right in this phase of the swing instead of letting the barrel spin. Anytime the barrel gets under your hands in this phase of the swing, particularly in an environment where a ball is sitting still, you won't get a lot of good results out of that. And so what we've been focusing on is making sure that he understands first, what does it mean to stay down the line? What does it mean to stay back through space? And then what are we going to do with that energy at the end? And you can see that just that focus right there. I mean, again, he looks 3 years older here, just what he's doing there on the right. In just a few days' time, and really understanding some basic concepts of this. I also like how you were able, and this is one of the reasons why players struggle with this dynamic balance drill, is because I always hear, well, it's too awkward for him. Well, it should feel awkward. A lot of things that kids do when they first start doing this drill are kind of like what he's doing here. What do you mean you want me to get my feet set and swing the bat? Man, I'm used to getting a lot of stuff moving. Of course, we want to have a lot of body parts moving in a normal swing, but at this point, we're trying to get him to understand his body's relationship to the ground. And we can see things like this happening, that pivot of his front foot while his heel's in the ground as he throws his knee in this direction and his hip is basically turning to say, I got to do all this to create a lag move. Wrong, right? That's the wrong feeling. And so here his hips are staying down the line as he's creating this energy. And so in a weight shift from the ground up, this is all going to look a little bit different. But from a dynamically balanced position, I got to challenge myself to feeling what it means to stay on the ball and down the line as much as possible. So we're going to have to work at staying on the ball a little bit more. But right now, what I want you guys to do is spend a few more days with the same rules that we created here. Because, he's starting to get a little better feeling here. So we want to work on that a little bit longer. And then we're going to come back and talk about, after he spends a few days doing basically what you guys are doing now, we'll start trying to add a trigger move. And then from there, we'll start talking about bringing in a pre-swing movement and timing movements. All right? Really good stuff, guys. He's just doing fantastic work. And Dad, you're doing a super job of getting him prepared.